Steer for the deep waters only, reckless, O soul, exploring, I with thee and thou with me. We are bound where mariner has not yet dared to go. We will risk the ship, ourselves, and all.
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be reviewing yet again the Oris Aquis, but this time an extremely special version, unlike any other. I'll do a quick wristwatch check before I get into it. I am wearing a Tudor Submariner as we're talking about divers. So if you've been following the channel, and by the way guys, don't forget to like this video if you want me to cover more watches in this price range. It really does help me out, kind of gauge your interest. But anyway, so what was I saying? Most importantly, the reason why I wanted to revisit this is that now Watchbox are offering a promotional code to the good Gentry out there. I wanted to kind of revisit some Gentry classics from their inventory, and I wanted to start at the kind of the entry level, so to speak, a very, very special, one-of-a-kind Aquis. So 5 years ago when I started my YouTube channel, I owned a modern ceramic bezel, supercased Rolex Submariner and an array of Seiko divers, most notably being the SKX. Two professional grade legends and kings of their respective ranges, but of course worlds apart in price. So in order to get that next watch fix, the itch was eventually scratched with the love affair with the Oris Aquis. I had just over $1,000 to spend at the time, and the Aquis was still priced closer to that than what it's going for now. So fast forward 5 years, is it worth the current price? And after experiencing so many divers at the mid-range sweet spot, how does it compare to an increasingly flooded market? Now, this is the really entry level to the luxury range, in my opinion. It's not going to have the value retention of, let's say, well, Tudor, like my Tudor there, or Rolex, or Omega for that matter, but it is fairly strong. And some of the discontinued previous Aquises actually fetch a pretty penny on eBay and on the used market. But really, to understand its value, we have to take everything else into consideration. With Seiko prices slowly rising and their ever-increasing dominance of the sub-$1,000 price point, it's tough to compete with, especially considering their long list of illustrious achievements and endless options when it comes to their dive watches. The same, to some extent, can be said with Oris at the $1,000 to $2,000 price range. Oris is a highly respected watchmaker founded in 1904 from the Swiss town of Holstein. Remarkably, they are still independent to this very day, a rare but important aspect of the brand. This, along with a history of making highly original designs, sets them very much apart from everybody else. Naturally, during my tour of many renowned watchmakers several years ago, I simply had to visit their factory. I got to see in person many of their earlier pieces that very much set the brand on a path of idiosyncratic thinking. Their iconic 1930s pointer date and even earlier pilot watches proved they could master watches for land and air. Then, as demand for divers exploded and the technology finally allowed it, they conquered the sea too. Their innovation has not ceased. Oris introduced the Oris Aquis depth gauge in 2013, which was the world's first mechanical depth gauge, featured in a watch. A year later, in 2014, Oris celebrated 110 years of watchmaking with its first in-house developed caliber for 35 years. This is just a few of their many accomplishments, but what's important to note here is that few brands under $2,000 can boast this. The design of the Aquis is undoubtedly something that drew me immediately into its spell. While the general dimensions, hands, dials, materials, lugs, and colors have all evolved over time, the futuristic essence and unmistakable style still ensures it remains one of the most original and modern-looking divers on the market. Oris have always had a strong tradition of doing their own thing, especially when it comes to aesthetics. The Aquis is a successor to their more kettle-shaped professional TT1 divers of the early 2000s. To set it apart, a more angular, sharper edge and bold masculine look was then introduced. While it did inherit the integrated straps and bracelets and of course the dial symmetry, gone was the wave-embossed details in favor of a cleaner look. Also to be abandoned was the curvaceous case for something a little bit more brutalist, you could almost say. The shark teeth applied markers were exchanged for these wedge-shaped, multifaceted trapeziums. Like something out of a Blade Runner or silent running movie set, a modular crown guard was added to protect the screw-down crown, an ingenious and overlooked feature as it can be removed if it becomes worn and replaced during a service when required. It also has the double benefit of adding to its very particular aesthetic. The finishing is more highly polished in general, but still retains some of that tool-tastic brushing as well to contrast it. This is a combination of a more luxurious finishing over its predominantly brushed predecessor. And to bring it bang up to date, a durable choice of ceramic inserts for the bezel gave the watch a very pleasing but subtle shimmer, as we see here. The Aquis had suddenly become more elegant, bridging the gap between a Series 300-meter capable diver with more do-it-all versatility. Initially only available in a larger 43mm diameter, there was a rare 40mm version that followed with a tungsten bezel that I owned and regretfully sold. But Oris then listened to the Gentry watch enthusiast community, and in 2018 we gratefully saw the release of the watch that this particular model is derived from, and a 39.5mm size for the diameter. For the lug-to-lug, just shy of 46mm, and a height of just shy of 14, so quite statuesque, but certainly compatible with pretty much most wrists. The clasp also features micro adjustments, and it's important to point out that the links are connected via screws, something that you don't typically expect at this price point, but just makes sizing that bracelet that much better and easier. So along with the introduction of a more crowd-pleasing size, there was a whole plethora of colors, complications, and small refinements made to the design. The closest thing it resembles is the newer Blancpain 50 Fathoms. I mean, it has to be said, but its design evolution being inspired by its own brand soon debunks any notion of it being a homage to the diving legend. Its similarities are just great thinking alike, and that is never a bad thing. So in 2019, this stainless steel limited edition debuted with only 2,000 pieces made in honor of an extremely worthy cause. It's no secret that the world's oceans will soon be fuller of imperishable plastic garbage than fish, and in an effort to support the much-needed cleanup, and cleverly what they've done to honor this, unlike your typical see-through caseback displaying the iconic red rotor synonymous with the brand, we see an utterly unique layered medallion. It is made from actual salvaged plastic from the ocean and is different with every piece. The result is something you would see in a modern art gallery and reminds the wearer of a continued commitment to the betterment of the oceans. As someone who cares about the future of our planet, this adds an extra level of satisfaction and charm when on the wrist. Okay, so it's not immediately apparent to anybody else, but the wearer knows it, and I certainly think it's a nice touch. To further distinguish it from your more standard release, we have a stunningly rich gradient dial that changes from a deep black to a vivid dark teal and ocean blue. When you look into it, these fantastically striking colors give an impression one is almost rising from the depths of the ocean with the rays of light shining in, created by that absolutely gorgeous sunburst effect. It also must be mentioned that the Aquis has one of the most pleasing date positions of all time, perfectly underlining the original and vertical lines of symmetry and further assisting its orientation as it breaks the application of superluminova luminescence. The segmented hour hand and lollipop seconds make it easy to distinguish the hands in low light and even at a quick glance during the daytime too. To complement the oceanic theme, the ceramic engraved insert that frames the very subtly curved sapphire glass there, that does have anti-reflective coating, further giving an extra layer of color play with the hues at work there. We see this resplendent glossy Oxford blue that is rather more subdued but absolutely mesmerizing all the same. The numerals on the bezels are crisply contrasting in white and are engraved. There's a little triangle dash of crimson red lacquer framing the loom pip at the zero of the bezel. While the Oris 65 performs like its vintage 100-meter 1965 inspiration, the Aquis can go 3 times as deep. Like all Oris watches, I'm always impressed by the fit, feel and finish. Just like the oversized very first generation, this is rather substantial, and its height gives a very assuring, sporty, everyday wearability. Certainly not the most graceful to slide under the cuff, but it is, however, extremely solidly constructed. From the very substantial, thick diver's extension we see hidden in the clasp, to the actual parts of the clasp itself that has a double push button. And the solidity continues with tapering links there. And as for the action of the bezel, well, it's very impressive indeed. It's 120 click, unidirectional, with almost no play whatsoever, and of course lines up perfectly. Just like I said in my very early rudimentary videos, the feel and quality is that of a luxury brand, if I'm being completely honest. And I've compared it to Omega in the past. Is it still of that level of execution? Well, absolutely. While it may have got prettier in appearance, it still evokes confidence thanks to its tough, robust construction. It is built like a tank. It wears wonderfully with a weight of around 150 grams, depending on the amount of the contrasted finished links you choose to have or take away. Inside is the ever-venerable Sellita, a pillar of the Swiss watchmaking industry. The SW200-1 is precise, reliable, robust, a clone of the ETA 2824-2. It has been ever so slightly improved over the ETA with slightly more efficient components, but essentially performs just as well, if not a tad better. This proven modified caliber has the benefit of being affordable to maintain, service and find parts for. While you don't get any of that COSC certification or testing, it is perfectly capable of such accuracy. As you would expect with this level of movement, we get a quick set date, manual wind, hacking. When it comes to negatives, the main bone of contention will always be this watch's Achilles heel. That is, unquestionably, the integration of the bracelet or strap. It certainly turns a lot of people off and limits the pairing options dramatically, even though Oris have made some efforts to provide more straps, and including leather. If only Oris would appease the critics or former owners like me by providing strap adapters, I would certainly consider one again. Having said that, I do feel that the lugs are integral to its distinctive design, And changing it to a more conventional style of lugs would lose something crucial to its lovable industrial chic, so to speak. I only wish they would offer something like they did with the insanely cool Force Recon GMT, but also in a more realistic size. If they were to make that demonically cool looking watch in a smaller size, I would buy it in a heartbeat. I think the NATO strap adapters there were absolute genius. Otherwise, this watch is flawlessly made, and that's seriously about it. It looks like nothing else out there, but on top of that, with every model being one of a kind, with its tribute to a good cause, it adds an element of extra pride to the wearer. And it still remains a refreshing change from your all-too-typical Submariner-style divers and a market oversaturated with vintage-inspired nostalgia. And to answer our question earlier about its value, well, I still think it's on the money. It is just as compelling as the first day I experienced them all those years ago, but even more so now, refined with this totally unique incarnation. Modern, stylish, yet masculine and tough. From a highly respectable brand, it's impeccably made and unpretentious. The Aquis remains one of the best Swiss-made divers under $2,000, and unequivocally so. It still gets the Pure Class certification from me, once again. Oh, and guys, I shouldn't neglect to mention there is a 43mm version for those of you with the large wrist. So yeah, with this configuration, so you're covered as well. But that's about it. Yeah. Let me know your thoughts, queries, comments, opinions, all the rest of it down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao. We all work hard for our money, so when it comes time to spend it on a luxury watch, the best way to take your money furthest is to buy pre-owned. With some dealers, this might be risky, but not at Watchbox. As a former customer, it was only natural I became part of the Watchbox family. I fell in love with the easy, safe, and professional manner in which they do business. So why are they so highly regarded? Authenticity is always guaranteed. Every watch comes with a 2-year warranty, and Watchbox has their own in-house Swiss-trained expert watchmakers. They have a global presence and an unrivaled selection. It's simply the best way to buy, sell, and trade your watches from the comfort of your own home, anywhere around the world. With a team comprised of passionate watch enthusiasts. As an Urban Gentry viewer, you can also benefit from this wonderful partnership with Watchbox. They are generously offering all Gentry members and viewers exclusive discounts on their next purchase. Please check the description below for the promo code to enter on their website. Watchbox is not just the best option to consider, it's the future of buying and selling watches online.